Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kael. This is the Eastern Waste entrance for Kael. That right here, this is an always indifferent NPC who is there specifically to take dwarf heads, and his point is for faction. Now, Kael's a large zone, so I'm kind of just going off in a lot of random directions going through this. So first things first, well, threateningly, oh, that's right, I only have Kromzak faction. So, normally, nothing should see invis in this area. I know on the server currently things do. Interestingly enough, these mobs, they are very low. They're probably like, mid-30s. They can actually drop the third quest armor. It's just incredibly rare. Like, it's not worth farming, but it is possible for some of them to drop it. Basically, any NPC that follows the adjutant, trooper, veteran, they can all drop armor. So I don't know if I forget if watchers can, but we're gonna just skip past that for now. So over here, we're gonna start with what is the Ice Giant Palace, and I'm gonna be KOS here, so this is probably gonna be the most difficult area for me to investigate because there should be some CNVs. This is where you get your ice shards, and if you're an enchanter, this is where you're getting your best pets. So there's a bunch of junk items that are quest items that these all drop, but it's really not worth it to be killing here just because it's mostly trash. So you got your ice crafter there, he's gonna aggro me. I'm just showing you through this. To your right, now we already got someone. Yep, ice crafters. There's the main dude, Clag and Ice. There's a thing in here called the plate cycle, and the plate cycle is an armor cycle. I really hope that spell isn't going at me. Nope. Anyways, the armor cycle is just a good way to farm armor here. This building, the main use of it is the plate cycle. And there's also the way to initiate the 9th ring is you go in there and you say, "The Dane shall be slain for the peace we must obtain." It'll spawn this ring event. I don't know if it's in the server yet, but it'll spawn a ring event, and you just kill those NPCs. It's actually pretty difficult too. This area is mostly like level 50 stuff. That stuff is a little bit harder, and it's for part of the 9th ring. So I am gonna get out of here in a minute. Likewise, everything likes to see invis here. Those are just the last of the NPCs. And I'm going back from where we came. But hopefully I don't die. This is going to be the toughest area. And I saw someone casting, so I just decided just to bolt it. And I don't like the fact that I have Spirits of the Frost Slam against me, because that means there's a Shaman, and that means there's Soud NPCs. So I'm going to hang for a few. But that's the Frost Giant main area. Now keep in mind that's Kromrith. The majority of people who are on Giant Faction are Kromzak, because it's really dumb to be KOS to dwarfs, because Frost Giants are, I don't know, they're really just a non-factor. About the only thing they matter for is the senior guards that see invis outside the arena, and you can usually find a way to get around them. Alright, so I'm going to hang for a few. I'll talk a little bit more about Kael. So I won't investigate the one area, but over here is a Frost Giant village. It's not very high level. You'll get a couple, I think that like level 40-ish, maybe level 45. It's good for getting, stuff like Giant Scale Mail, which isn't very good. It's lower level stuff. Anyhow, I think there's a guy who, like, the loot for most of the Frost Giant stuff is just really not worth it, especially for the effort involved. And hopefully I don't got a ton of stuff on me. We'll find out in a minute. But looks good. Yeah, it's a little village. Still afraid that something's popping up over there. Yeah, Frost Giant. So coming up here is going to be what's kind of like the town hub. And I'm still KOS to some of these, but Kromzak I'm fine with. That's the Storm Giants. So in here we have both Wenglex and Noble Hessen rather. So, good. So this is Noble. It should be right here, yeah. So that's actually Noble's walking stick. It's okay, one hand blunt. Noble Hessen is fuck, I'm blanking what quest he's for. But either way, Wenglex is for Caller of the Storm. Or no, Helson's for Caller of the Storm. It's for Helson's Trinket. So it's a quest that involves you going to Awakening Lands. You awake Plane of Growth. Basically, you were supposed to be like a mercenary, and you fail at your job, and to get redemption, he makes you investigate this thing. You go into Thurg, you go to a bar in Thurg. You go to Koruth, which is the Uber level 35 Turtle and Iceclad. Then you go to Tower Frozen Shadow, and on the sixth or seventh floor, you'll have an Incoherent Spirit. About half the time you kill him, the Ghost of Abrams pops out. You give that, you go back, you bring it to Halsin, and there's a pretty good caster earring. It's like 55 mana, 10 SP magic, some charisma, and that's for int casters. There's a good belt, a Girdle Reflection, I believe it's called, for wisdom casters, and melee have Collar of the Storm, which is like 11 AC, 15 HP, magic, and cold resist. It's pretty decent. Anyhow, this is the bank for Kael. You saw Captain Bavelos. He is a name that comes here, and he roams. He can drop. He's got like a decent cloak, like a direwolf cloak, and he also has a sword. So if he's not holding the sword, he's got the cloak. The sword is 9 damage, 22 delay, and it procs its self-dispel. So it used to be used, you would give it to raid NPCs, and they would just dispel slow off themselves. So it's a griefing item, but it's pretty bad otherwise. And then the cloak's actually pretty decent. I think it's like 35 HP, some stats. So this dude right here is your banker. You got a bank, you come to them. You can actually bind in the bank. I don't know if Kael initially is fully bindable, but you can always bind in the bank. As you can note, though, it's a bunch of high-level NPCs. If you are not faction, you are going to get ass-fucked. So down here is Draco Direwolves. These are your pets. Druids can charm them, Enchanters can charm them. They're anywhere from, I believe, 49 to 53. They hit in the mid-200s, and unlike everything else in the zone, at least, that's giants, they are actually stunnable, so they're very good Enchanter pets. Now, whether or not that's going to carry over to this server, I don't know yet. These are basically arena NPCs that are in front of Tormax's area. They can drop, armor. Very good places to farm armor here. So anything from a veteran to a legionnaire to an adjutant to troopers can spawn there, all which drop armor. So Gleed I wanted to watch out for specifically. He's down there. He is on Frost Giant faction, which I'm KOS to. Gleed drops I believe it's called Bow of the Huntsman. It's like 10 damage, 17 delay maybe, and it procs Spirit Strike, which is like a 70 DD. Overall, pretty decent item. Back there, that Storm Giant Warlord, I can go up here, I'm not KOS to him. So, he, I believe, is actually on Tormax faction, despite the fact that he is the Storm Giant Warlord. He drops the Mask of War, and he is the PH for Dalamas Stormslayer. Dalamas is number 1 who you hand dragon heads to from Western Waste for Barbed Dragon Scale stuff. Oh no, I'm wrong on that actually. He gives the Frostbringer, which, that's the big item you kill him for, but it's the barbed dragon scalp pauldrons that he gives out. But Frostbringer is probably going to be the de facto cheap tank weapon for tank. Right here, this is why people like to farm this area, because these Sentinels, they drop armor and they drop a shitload of it. Right there's Tormac. Um, there's his guards. So Tormax, I don't want to aggro him because I will die very quickly, but I'm going to try and sneak around him because I'm boss as fuck. The only issue is there are other Tormax faction guys like there, which are for your, Coldane skin quest, and at least I don't see invis. Some other stuff. It's pretty much a given if I aggro Tormax, I'm going to die. So how do we get around that? We bind ourselves and just go for it. Oh, so yeah, you can't bind in Kael. You have to go to the bank. So if I die, I die, but I am going to show you the Orb of the Infinite Void guy, which is probably going to be the most contested non-imagine. It was pretty, this is going to be pretty risky, because there's a lot of Tormax faction guys back there too. Well, that did not work out as planned. I'm going to head right back to So I'm back to Kael. And I'm not going to go bother going back there, but basically if you go behind Tormax and you go to the left, there is, so when you go behind Tormax, there's a couple of high-level NPCs, the Sentinels that drop armor, then there's the quest givers that are all behind him, and then to the left is the Orb of the Infinite Void guy, and the guy who drops the Frozen Shard, which is a pretty good spear. And then if you go to your right, you can get to a banker and a merchant. So Tormax faction, out of Yellonak and Dane faction, in my opinion, is probably the most useful, just because it allows you to farm the Orb of the Infinite Void, which that's one of the best shields in the game. I just don't want to be bringing baggage to the arena, because the next thing I'm gonna be showing is the arena. The arena, in my opinion, is going to be the most overfarmed group area in the game for months with the release of Velius. Pretty much anybody who has, I don't want to say no ambition, but it's kind of the easy way out of this expansion. So the arena, you get to the main area and you go to your right, and you just go up here. And normally by the gate, there are senior guards that see invis. This at least should be the first area where you start hitting see invises, and you see some bad shrimps. So you get some guards. These guys all see invis, and they're high enough level where they can actually make your life kind of suck. So you just train them off, you know, up here. So I'm going to talk about arena while those reset real quick. So the arena is where you're getting your dwarf armor. Everybody's going to be dwarf faction. There's really no reason to not at least have Coldane faction. Dane faction a little bit different, but Coldane faction, there's no reason not to have it. The arena is where, generally a group of players is just going to mindlessly farm armor. And the reason I say it's the easy way out is because it's just way easier, in my opinion, just farm either Plane of Growth, Plane of Mischief armor's better, Halls of Testing armor's better, West Temple of Ishin's better. West Temple of Ishin's a lot harder, but, it's always going to be open. There's just so many mobs. So I just gotta watch out for guards. And they start getting, so this is basically where you're going to be farming. Veterans have the best chance of dropping armor in the arena. Over here you have Kael. Kael, that weapon is Black Blade of Tormenting. It is a pretty decent tank weapon. Protectors of Zek, they drop the heads that you go give along with the Vindicator head for the Druid Tunair Plane of Growth quest gloves, which are pretty good. I believe they're like gloves of earth crafting. So this is the arena. There's a bunch of spawns. You're going to be just seeing this perma-camped. I mean, you already see people here, and unless these people, I don't really get how people die. If they're just doing arena, they're probably doing something else. It's just, single pulls, like only these guys are clerics. Stuff doesn't hit that hard. So in here, you got more protectors of Zek. You gotta kill them, really. Now, there's three things in here. Number one, you got your Talon side. This is Valen. So you can have the High Priest of Valen Zek. This is actually for the Circular of the Fallenkin quest I was talking about earlier. At least I think he is. But this is the PH for him. Like, when they have the name, it's like Semcrack Prophet of Valen, and then the other one's like JK or GKREAN Prophet of Valen or something. Yeah, right here. Here's Jikrin. So this is an actual name. So these guys, they give out a really bad quest. So the quest is basically, this guy gives tested tactics, the other one's strategy. Now, what that is I believe it's, Eastern Waste, there's these tiny Coldane camps. The Coldane missionaries will, like, super rarely drop these books, no drop books, and you have to have good faction here. You turn them into them. The tactics one for Jikrian Prophet of Talon, and the other one for Valen. And those books, they'll give you an item on their table, which ideally is the Circulet, which is the helmet, which is pretty decent. The Talon one I remember is a no drop, and then the Valen one is droppable, so it's a little bit better. The big thing is, like most Kael NPCs, you can just kill the NPC and get the item. So these guys are just going to be killed anyway, so it's like, you're going to spend hours upon hours farming books to get, potentially... There's actually bad items that come from it, too, so it's not even guaranteed for that. Now, down here, you got Berserker the Cold. This is the main guy I want to show you. You see this thing he's holding? That's called a Scepter of Mastery. At first, it sucks. It's not very good. It's a monk weapon, but it's primary only, and it's, I think, like 1325 at the start. It eventually gets buffed to, it's either, I think it's 1322, and it can be wielded in the offhand, so it's pretty good. On the other side, this is an arena with PvP. So this is why they actually call it the arena. So there's, I think it's Joker or something like that. It's around here. One of these guys, yeah, him. Fuck, I forget it. They have a dragon slaying quest where it's Onyx Gauntlets or some shit like that. Silver Chain, Silver Onyx Gauntlets. It's just like 100 HP warrior gauntlets. Pretty good. Here's Velok, he's always angry. He's just, the opposite of Berserker the Cold. Yep, that's the temple. So I'm probably going to die over here, but I'm going to try and get as far as I can without summoning a pet, because I don't have bone chips. So this is where Vindy is. Vindy's going to be KOS to me. Vindy's just always KOS. He's always mad. There he is, Director the Vindicator. Two guards. So this area, this is statue. Statue's back there, Vindy's back there. The way to split Vindy is generally you separate him from his guards by just warping him, because this area, instead of them running around a lot of times, they just warp through the wall. That was at least live. Now, I'm going to get slaughtered here, but it's going to be worth it. So I'm going to wait till he passes up, and then I'm going to try and sneak past him just so I can show you statue. So you usually kill Vindy. You know, he drops his either the bad earring very rarely, most commonly the BP, and uncommonly the boots. The BP is kind of weird because he's a mob where the rare drop is the worst and the common drop's the best, and the uncommon drop's in between. So this is pretty good for Vindy. I'm about to get splattered though, but it's all gonna be worth it because I'm an aggro with guards. So that statue, I'm about to die, but that statue. One thing that's interesting is statue, unlike what seemingly every other raid mob, is a low level mob. Like he'll con blue. I think he's level 58 maybe. Um, but he's super resistant. But he's slowable, but he's just this level 58 mob you can kite. Anyways, that's it for Kael. Hope you enjoyed it.